Fortnite's community seems to think that this season will have an end live event. From the arrival of the Nothing to a mission of saving the scientists, let's talk theories on Chapter 4 Season 1's ending. Fortnite Story as of right now has three main focuses, there being the Shapeless Man, the Rift Gate, and the Seven's Dark Fate, which are all connected. If this season was to see an end live event take place, it'd feature all three topics, as they've intertwined throughout our story so far, so let's look into them deeper. The Shapeless Man is a mysterious character who watches over our island with a dark purpose and intention. He pressured the Rift Warden into building something known as the Rift Gate. The story initially had us believe he was doing it for Geno's snapshot, but it turns out if he doesn't complete it in time for this Shapeless Man, there will be an absolutely terrible consequence for us all. The debate in Fortnite Story community right now is whether the Shapeless Man is the Nothing or the original Geno. Both entities come across as shapeless and also evil, and they've both been hinted at by the Rift Warden Stellan, so if this season does end up having an event, I think we'll get our answer as to who this really is, but back to the topic of the Rift Gate. Throughout this season's story quest, the Rift Gate has been a central focus for both Amy as well as the Rift Warden Stellan. So far in the story, we've used test rifts that were linked up to the Rift Gate and sent different objects through it. And when we went to collect them, they were all corrupted and shifted toward their dark fate. One of the test rifts also looked onto the Scientist, and if you weren't already aware, the Scientist alongside the Origin and the Visitor were taken by the Chrome in Chapter 3 Season 4, so it's very safe to assume that this dark transition is also linked to the Chrome alongside the Last Reality. Now, the thing that makes this Rift Gate dark isn't actually the Rift Warden, and it's not the Shapeless Man either. I know, surprising. It's actually the Paradigm's kinetic ore. At the very beginning of this season's story quest, the Paradigm delivered us a refined, energy valuable source known as kinetic ore, but it's also super corruptive. A friend of mine, Restro, believes that the panels in the Io's bridge were actually made out of this kinetic ore, and if we're using this material uncontrolled or out of stability, it may have actually affected the Scientist in the Seven in a pretty bad way. It may have even corrupted them to the darkness, so I'm pretty sure that we may even attempt to save them in this event if it does actually end up happening. I'm also pretty convinced that the Paradigm gave us this powerful ore, expecting that we'd use it responsibly, but oh well, we didn't, and she's not here to do anything about it, so I guess that doesn't matter. Now, before we go any further, how likely is it actually for an event to happen at the end of this season? As you can tell from what I've told you about Chapter 4's story so far, it wouldn't be a total shock that this amount of story and lore in a single season would lead to an ultimate climax in the form of an in-game live event, which is what has the community so convinced, but here's where I disagree. Fortnite chapters are a beginning to a new part of the story, a new era of this game that we know and love, and Chapter 4 has done that so well and so differently. Chapter 1's end event brought us the attention of the Nothing and the Last Reality. Chapter 2's end event defeated the Nothing's army, or at least a main part of it. It also got Jones out of prison and introduced us to the flipped island concept. Then you have Chapter 3's events. The Seven and the Imagined Order both got torn apart to their biggest weaknesses, and our Reality Zero that we spent 5 years in just entirely exploded. If anything, this is the most fresh start we've ever had in terms of story for a new chapter. I do understand that this new story is hyping people up, but I doubt a concept so freshly introduced like this needs an event to rush into within just its first few months. Do I think it would be cool? Yeah, of course I do. I'd love to save the Seven and run alongside Amy and fight the Nothing as he makes his arrival, but I doubt we'll be able to just yet, and this reason might just convince you too. Fortnite's most recent story live event was the Fracture event. It finished off a chapter, it was meant to be massive, but it all fell down to ultimately be the commonly titled worst event ever, or at least one of the worst. Why? It was the end of a chapter that's usually so hyped up. How in the hell did Epic even manage to mess that one up? Well, it's because they rushed. Chapter 4 was so highly anticipated to be massive and awesome and huge, and I doubt Epic even initially planned to introduce it so soon throughout only having 4 seasons of Chapter 3. They simply had to set the reset button on Fortnite itself, because the community was just really bored of that map and the weapons and the story, so they gave us new versions of all that stuff. There was even unfinished cutscenes for this event itself, and teasers kinda led to nothing that made this Fracture event just really dry, and it didn't feel like Epic was putting any passion into it, because they rushed it, they didn't finish things, and they put it out and people didn't enjoy it. With that massive mistake on their part, I would doubt they would rush into a story live event so quickly yet again, but I could be wrong. Let me know what you expect to happen at the end of this Fortnite season in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to join the Discord if you like to talk about Fortnite Story, and with that, I'll see you in the next one.